Hi there. Now we're going to continue with the next step in the planking process. As you saw last time, I sealed the gaps between the strips. First with pure epoxy, and then with filler in epoxy, and then with even more filler in epoxy and some sawdust. And by doing that I have sealed all the gaps. So now I can remove the staples, which is the next step. I don't need the staples to hold the strips in place any longer because the epoxy that I put on last time does that. And after I have removed all the staples, then we can fill the gaps where the staples are. So let's do that. To be gentle on the surface, I use a piece of wood to bend against. I try to pull a staple up with a flat small screwdriver. Working from both sides can help. As soon as I have got a grip, I move on to the next staple and work on both sides with this one also, as it's stuck. I don't want to break it because that would make it more difficult to remove. When I have got a grip for the pliers, I can pull out the staple. Sometimes the staples break and that makes it more difficult. I continue to move around the hull and remove the staples. Here I have got epoxy on the staple and that makes it more difficult. But it's still possible to remove. Often there are some tension left in the strips, so the sides might flex outwards after all staples are removed. Finally, I'm done with removing staples, so I can start mixing epoxy. I want to cover the areas where I have removed the staples. With this plain epoxy mixture I will penetrate the narrow gaps. So when it's fully mixed, I start smearing epoxy into the areas where I have removed the staples. For the bigger gaps I add cotton fibers to the mixture. The more viscous epoxy stays in the bigger gaps. I make a third batch with more filler to act as a fairing compound, and smear that on the really big gaps and on uneven surfaces. For example, along the hatch plate. Now I'm done with this step. The next step is to sand the outside of the upper hull. That will be in the next episode. See you then!